People who act less intelligent than you really are. 1. Better to pretend you're dumb and pleasantly surprise than to pretend you're smart and disappoint. It's the old technique of lowering expectations to the point you literally can't fail. Much easier to act dumb than have to explain shit every time. Life is easier if people think you're stupid. No one expects as much. At my last 2 jobs I didn't play dumb, I was overworked, everything was pawned off on me constantly. This job I play dumb, I get to do just my job and nothing else. I go home with no stress. Don't want to come across as a know-it-all. People who tend to always act as smart as possible all the time usually are annoying as shit to be around. Because less intelligent is less threatening. Likewise, acting smart all the time gets so tiresome for the people around you. As the ancient proverb says, the wise eagle hides his claws. Don't let them put their guards up. Not so much intelligent, but I have a really good memory and I hold back a lot on it because it can weird people out when you remember random things that happened months or years ago. I had a stroke and often find it difficult to communicate. I have found that people assume I'm stupid or don't want to be engaged, when in fact I have a master's degree and just can't respond or speak in that particular moment. Because explaining myself, I get a lot of anxiety and it's easier to let someone else do it. I typically find that if I come across as not knowing much, I'll either learn more from someone else, get a different viewpoint on a subject, or they'll fall over themselves and then I'll know not to trust that person's intellect over mine. Or they think you're an idiot and tell you everything. People will want me to do shit for them, fuck that. People just expect too much of you if they know you're more intelligent than you let on. Going through school, some random teacher who didn't know me at all marked me as exceptionally gifted in kindergarten because I had to show her old ass how to use a computer. Cue them putting me in all the advanced courses, treating me entirely differently. If I ever got less than a B on a test or paper, I was grounded and had all my toys/video games taken away for a week. I was constantly told that I was better than other kids, when really, my only talent is the ability to blindly regurgitate information that I've only heard once or twice. Doesn't mean I understand it or care about it. Also, side rant, we need to stop pushing intelligence to mean strictly book intelligence. The adults that I grew up around seem to think that if you're good at academics, you're good at everything, and I was constantly a disappointment to them when I was merely average at something, or worse, just simply couldn't give a flying rat's behind about something they were trying to cram down my throat. In the adult world, it's the same strategy as giving less than your best at work. Give about 75% effort, so if you have a day where you're struggling and only give 50%, it's not out of the ordinary, but if you have a day where you need to make an impression for a promotion or raise, give 100%. With intelligence it's the same thing. People expect something that's going to be substandard, and when they get a decent product back from you, they're pleasantly surprised, and you end up looking better than if they already thought well of you and you gave them a product that only met, but did not exceed their expectations. Something, psychology. They remember the positive feelings they get with being pleasantly surprised a lot more strongly than they'd ever associate the mere okayness of getting the pristine product that they already expected from you, because they knew you were smart. Overall, it's just easier. People take more time with you to explain things if they don't think you're as smart, so you get better training. They'll help you out with tasks that you might have been otherwise left to solo. Life is a lot easier when you're not constantly a disappointment for not living up to people's pristine expectations of your perfection. I don't act less intelligent, but I usually pretend I know less about certain topics than I really do. I don't want to drag a conversation into an area that the other person isn't familiar with. I'm more relatable this way. If I act like I'm smart, it is off-putting to people. I will be open about something if I'm knowledgeable about something relevant to the conversation though. I'm not really that smart though, to be completely honest. I naturally have an airhead personality to begin, so it really helps with the act. I didn't notice I did it until a friend was watching me work and she asked me what I was doing. I worked with this guy once that would always use me as a scapegoat for his work, or if I did mess up I could hear him shouting it from across the room to the bosses. So when I was in front of him I would really up the act and act dumb or confused really easily. It would make hurt his ego so much to be paired with someone so dumb like me, and after a while I just didn't do as much work and he would have to do it for me. Or he would stop asking me to do things. Then one day I went to talk to the boss, and this was a nice man, expecting to see all the mess up and dumb things my coworker had said about me. But no. I gave him a full office breakdown on all our specs, talked about one of our upgrade systems and a few other things. He was pleasantly shocked and tried to find a polite way to ask why he had heard such bad things about me. "You mean why coworker says I'm an idiot?" "Yeah." I shrugged. "He just likes to pick on me when he messes up." My boss thought it was funny, and I like to think it taught him never to just listen to the loudest person in a room. So after that I would wait for my coworker to make a comment about me in front of the whole office, and I would so happen to turn in a mass report for the office that my coworker said he wouldn't be able to get done till next week. Or he would tell my boss that I messed up a contract, and I would just so happen turn in 5 other contracts that were all ready to go. My coworker was confused to say the least and couldn't understand how ditzy me was doing so well sometimes. My boss gave me a personal award that ended up getting me promoted, and he worked extra hard and setting me up in my next role, and I really enjoyed my time there with that boss and coworker. Better to let your opponent underestimate you. People generally feel threatened by smart people. I'm not saying I'm smart, but I pay attention to detail at work and make few errors. I could tell my coworkers started to envy me for this, so occasionally I'll purposely make a small error so they can take a jab at me. If I'm negotiating for something expensive, like a new car, I have no problem playing the ignorant one. I've asked how much could be saved by removing the sunroof. A fool who is in no hurry is tough to beat. Intelligent people who show off how intelligent they are can be really annoying and condescending. It's like an adult beating a 6-year-old at Mario Kart every time because they want to be fair. Just chill the fuck out. So people like me better. Because I don't want to come across as a douche. Everybody acts less intelligent than they think they are, because nearly everyone is dumber than they think they are. I have ADHD, which makes it harder for me than a lot of people. To get the grade I want, I have to work harder a lot of the time. It's not necessarily that I'm pretending, but rather that I feel dumber. I'm actually quite smart, but my confidence gets in the way. I'm not sure if this qualifies because I didn't do it on account of being super intelligent, but I was raised by two scientists and the things we talked about weren't normal family stuff growing up. Basically, I was raised by nerds to act like a nerd. So I had to learn to fit in once I was older, because no one ever wanted to talk to me. It took a few years to figure it out. Most people don't want to get into conversations about the origins of ancient civilizations and such. That's my experience at least. Showing you're smart isn't fun, and living like an average Joe is easier and more rewarding, and it's easier to meet expectations or go above if you don't show your full potential always. Plus more compliments about it. Years of conditioning. It's bad to be the smart kid in school. Even as adults, people can get defensive and nasty when they think you're smart. Sometimes it's easier to just pretend you don't know what's going on than to deal with someone else's insecurities. Sometimes you need to let something be someone else's idea to get things done. Sometimes it's okay to let someone else teach you something, even if you already know it. You might be surprised when you actually do learn something, or you might just give someone some nice endorphins by letting them feel useful or needed or impactful. Sometimes you can come off as a blowhard or know-it-all. I'm not saying you have to dumb everything down, and having informed conversations is exhilarating. But sometimes it's just nice to be pleasant and let other people be right. It's more fun and relaxing 90% of the times. Knew a guy whose philosophy in life was, if I act incompetent enough, someone else will just do it for me. Because of the way I look, I generally find it easier to act a lot more ditzy than I really am. I'm a tiny blonde girl. I love makeup and I'm always well dressed / put together. I have no problem with being typically girly. Because of this, people usually expect me to be a dumb blonde. Honestly, I just go with it most of the time. It's more fun to be able to joke around and interact with people when I don't feel like I have to prove my intelligence. I feel like people will try to catch me out if I start acting like I'm straight out of r/not like other girls. Plus, it's always fun to see people's reactions to finding out that I actually know a lot more than they think I do, lol. Well, it's easier than the other way around, isn't it? They don't expect much out of me, so they leave me alone. Because you never show your hand. Playing dumb shows you who you can trust. Those who don't take advantage of you are the ones you keep. I act less knowledgeable on certain subjects because they more often than not end up with the other person falling out or arguing with me. I have always taken great care when it comes to believing in what I say, and with that comes countless hours of research on more than one side of the points in question. Unfortunately, not many other people extend the same courtesy before entering the conversation, and these people tend to not be open-minded towards the whole picture and just resort to arguing. I have only found a small handful of people with whom I can have a constructive conversation about such delicate subjects, so I just steer clear of having a public opinion on them altogether. It depends on who I am interacting with. Based on what I've noticed, people who are less intelligent feel threatened when they perceive you as more intelligent. This can result in negative interactions ranging from them not comfortably speaking their mind to them communicating with their fists. Upside down face. It makes me appear less arrogant and more fun to be around. Honestly, as someone who is naturally super blonde, I laugh and dick around all the time and I'm busted, so most people just assume I'm dumb. Honestly, it's easier to let it happen that way. I'm not constantly being questioned or asked to prove that I'm not dumb, because I've been in many situations where I let my intelligence out and people still don't believe it. Because you refine your knowledge by letting people explain things in their own way to you. If you are a know-it-all, nobody will help you because you give off the impression of not needing it. People confide in you more, show more sympathy and expect less. So I could communicate with Redditors. If I pretend to be dumb, then they'll figure out I'm pretending eventually and assume I'm actually smart when I'm really just slightly less dumb. Acting less intelligent makes me a more fun human being. Really, overthinking things will get you nowhere. I'm more or less a grunt in the military. If the people around me knew that I had 2 degrees, I would be the subject of endless ridicule. Plus, if people know that you are educated, you are constantly under the microscope and scrutinized for the things you say and do. No thanks. It's a tool, no pun intended. When no one thinks you're a threat, they tend to trust you. I like people to underestimate me. Intelligent people know that arguing with unintelligent people is futile and simply frustrating. Better to be a wise man everyone thinks is the village idiot than the village idiot everyone thinks is a wise man. I am very smart. Sometimes playing dumb is a good thing. People like you more if you're at or below their intelligence level. Casual cursing also helps. Pretending to be dumb will get you out of trouble a lot. Also, people of authority don't like being wrong, so could delay potential advancement. People hate the smart ass and open up to regular guy. I'd rather not be called on in class. You're asked for a reliable answer for a question. Plus, I'd rather not sound like a prick trying to be smart. Acting dumb has more benefits than acting smart most of the time: lower expectations, less consequences for being wrong about something, and it's a lot more entertaining. I'm a 19-year-old female and always had a hard time in high school making other female friends. When I asked the friends I did have why, often male, the response was they're jealous because you're pretty, or other cop-out responses like that. Didn't agree that would be the reason. Lots of girls prettier than me get along great, but I did agree that there was at least intimidation on behalf of my attitude in play. I guess not seeming very welcoming/approachable. If I ever responded plainly and not goofily, even if I was smiling, people seemed to think I had a huge head. Anyway, in senior year of high school/college I began to act a bit more like a stereotypical dumb blonde, and not to honestly try to convince people of that, but to have an approachable demeanor in a way that I thought was amusing and hoped others would too. Turns out they end up just thinking you're dumb, not goofy, and likable. Oh well. It's hard to win. Do think it's helped with my approachability, though, and the ones who stick around will get to know the real me. I find my life is a lot easier the lower I keep everyone's expectations. Calvin and Hobbes. Setting low expectations makes everything so much easier. Because it feels good to not force myself to use my intelligence. I like to be casual. I'll be intelligent when I need to. A casual conversation isn't what I'd count as a situation needing my intelligence. If I'm using my full vocabulary in a conversation with you, then I'm probably scared of you or you're my work colleague. I don't wanna be obnoxious. Because nobody like a show-off. Saves a lot of awkward convos. I'm tired of people asking questions 24/7, I have things to do as well, and I'm not here to live your life for you. Google it for fuck's sake. My parents never loved me. To make the people around me feel more comfortable. It is better to pretend you don't know than to be responsible for what you do know tactically. So people who think they are more intelligent than they are don't keep trying to one-up you. Less threatening, seen as cuter, and I'm more relatable. People are just more comfortable around ditzy women. When people think you're stupid, you control them. A lot of arrogant dumb people get incredibly angry when someone else is demonstrably smarter than them. It's not even that I act less intelligent. I have an idea about a lot of things, but being intelligent doesn't qualify you to know every answer. It probably comes off that way because I don't intend to answer or postulate without knowing for certain. That's how we end up with a bunch of people spouting nonsensical information. As far as I'm concerned, being intelligent is knowing that your knowledge is limited and IQ has no bearing on information. I've also tried being the smartest guy in the room, knowing all the answers, and trying to be the best. Once you achieve that, congratulations, you've just stunted your own career because you're willing to do more for less. Lay low and concern yourself with only things that involve you. There is no good that can come from being the go-to guy. I like talking to people, and the easiest way is to ask questions. I probably get annoying and seem dumb, but I get attention. It's easier. Actually showing my intelligence somehow deters most people from conversing, in my experience. Throughout high school, the guys didn't want an intelligent girlfriend, they wanted an attractive girlfriend. I was gifted to be both along with athletic. If I actually let people know how intelligent I was, I'd be mocked. Correct someone's grammar? You're a grammar Nazi. Correct a fact that someone made? You're a know-it-all asshole. Be smarter than your high school boyfriend. Get broken up with, literally, for having a brain. They want to be superior. Again, in my experience. I will note that I had terrible taste in guys in high school. Retain facts that are generally useless but interesting? Weirdo. Get good grades and be happy about them. You're rubbing it in everyone's face. Read a bunch of books? Bookworm. Now, being an adult, it's similar but not exactly the same. I was granted a boyfriend who loves my intelligence and useless factoids. When it comes to talking with older adults, though, most don't like to be corrected. It's honestly a hard life to lead when you're intelligent. It's a game of figuring out who's going to be an asshole to you and who will love your intelligence and thought-provoking conversations. My intelligence also isn't limited to textbook things. I read a lot of books, fictional and non-fictional. I read articles about random things, NASA articles, psychology journals, environmental science articles, etc. I read my philosophy textbook for fun when I'm bored. My boyfriend will come home and see me laying in bed with either my philosophy book or me playing Duolingo. I'm a fast learner and catch on to things quick. In the last 3 months, I've learned how to do my own oil change, fix a tire, patch a hole in a tire, replace calipers and rotors, check oil, check the brake fluid levels, and do a brake flush. Gives me the advantage over my enemies.